Snow drifted through the air like silver dust, swirling against the dark December sky. Outside the glass windows of the upscale restaurant La Lumière, fairy lights sparkled across the street, reflecting off the snow-covered cars. Inside, the hum of laughter, clinking glasses, and soft jazz wrapped the guests in warmth and luxury. At a table by the window sat Ethan Cole, impeccably dressed in a charcoal suit. His silver watch gleamed under the chandelier as he checked it for the third, no, the fourth, time. His expression was calm, but his eyes betrayed a quiet impatience. He wasn't used to waiting for anyone. Not in business, not in life. Still, he stayed. His assistant had insisted on this blind date, saying it would do him good to meet someone outside the boardroom. Ethan had almost cancelled, but something about the idea of not spending another Christmas Eve alone had made him come. Now, nearly an hour later, he wondered if that had been a mistake. The waiter approached politely. "Would you like to order, sir?" Ethan shook his head. "Not yet." The waiter smiled knowingly and left, leaving Ethan with his untouched glass of wine. Around him, couples leaned close, whispering, laughing, feeding each other dessert. The warmth of the room only made his solitude sharper. Then the restaurant door swung open, a gust of wind and snow rushing in. Heads turned briefly, and in stumbled a woman, breathless, hair dusted white, clutching a small, battered purse. Her coat was old, her boots scuffed, her cheeks flushed pink from the cold. She looked around, uncertain, until her eyes landed on him. For a moment, neither spoke. Then she hurried over, mortified. "I'm so sorry," she gasped. "The bus broke down, and then my sitter cancelled, and she stopped, catching her breath. "You must think I'm terrible." Ethan rose to his feet, instinctively pulling out her chair. "You're here now," he said quietly. "That's what matters." Her surprise was genuine. Most men of his stature, she thought, wouldn't have waited at all. She smiled shyly. "Thank you. I'm Emma Lane." As she sat, brushing melted snow from her sleeve, Ethan realized something strange. The room suddenly felt warmer. The noise, the glitter, even the waiting, none of it mattered anymore. Because, somehow, he knew, this Christmas Eve had just begun. For a few moments, only the soft jazz and the clinking of silverware filled the silence between them. Emma sat rigidly, her hands wrapped around the water glass to hide their trembling. She could feel eyes on her, the waiters, the elegant couples nearby, all noticing that she didn't belong. Her coat was too plain, her shoes too worn, her smile too nervous. Ethan noticed too, not her flaws, but her discomfort. So he decided to break the tension. "Would you like some wine?" he asked, his tone gentler than she expected. "Oh, no, thank you," she replied, glancing down. "I have to pick up my son later." Her words hung between them. "Son." Ethan's brows lifted slightly, but he didn't cry. Instead, he signaled for the waiter and asked for a pot of tea instead of another bottle. It was a small gesture, but one that didn't go unnoticed. As the tea arrived, Emma exhaled softly, finally meeting his gaze. "I should explain," she began. "My friend set this up. She said I needed to get out more." She made air quotes, embarrassed, "but between work and, well, life, I don't really do dates." Ethan's lips curved. "Neither do I." "You?" she asked, genuinely surprised. "You seem like the type who could have dinner with anyone you wanted." "Maybe," he said, swirling his tea. "But dinners don't mean much if there's no one worth staying for." Her laughter came unexpectedly, light, real, unpolished. "That's actually kind of sweet." They began to talk, cautiously at first, then more freely. Emma told him about her 6-year-old son, Noah, how he loved drawing robots and insisted Santa could fix their old radio. She worked mornings at a cafe and evenings cleaning offices, barely managing to keep up with bills, but she spoke without self-pity. Her voice carried warmth, not complaint. Ethan listened, really listened, something he hadn't done in years. "You must be exhausted," he said quietly. "Sometimes," she admitted, "but when I see him smile, it's all worth it." The waiter cleared their plates, and time slipped by unnoticed. Ethan felt something stirring, admiration, curiosity, a quiet ache he couldn't name. Then Emma's phone buzzed. Her face paled. "I'm so sorry," she whispered. My sitter just texted. She can't stay any longer. I have to go. Ethan stood as she did, regret flickering in his eyes. At least let me call you a cab. She shook her head. The bus is fine. You've already waited too long for me. He handed her his business card, his voice soft but firm. Then promise me, if you ever need anything, you'll call. Emma hesitated, her eyes meeting his. Merry Christmas, Mr. Cole. And before he could reply, she was gone, leaving behind the faint scent of winter air and the lingering thought that maybe, just maybe, this was the one person worth waiting for. A week after Christmas, the snow still blanketed the city like a memory that refused to melt. Ethan Cole stood in the grand hall of the community center, surrounded by laughter, children, and the smell of hot chocolate. His company, Cole Industries, was sponsoring a New Year's charity art fair for underprivileged kids, an event he usually attended out of duty, not interest. But this year, something felt different. Maybe it was the memory of that night, of Emma's soft laughter and her hurried exit into the cold. He'd told himself to forget her, but she had somehow taken root in his thoughts. As he walked through rows of drawings pinned to colorful boards, one in particular caught his attention. It was a bright, messy crayon sketch of a boy and a woman standing beside a Christmas tree. Above them, in wobbly letters, were the words, "Me and Mom at Christmas. She's my hero." The signature at the bottom made his heart skip. Noah Lane. He turned, scanning the crowd, and there she was. Emma stood by the refreshment table, her hair pulled back, dressed in a simple navy sweater. Her cheeks were flushed from the indoor heat, her eyes lit with pride as she watched her son chatter with other children. Ethan approached slowly, unsure if she'd be glad or embarrassed to see him. "Emma," he said softly. She turned, startled, and then smiled. "Mr. Cole, I told you to call if you ever needed anything," he said with a hint of teasing. "Seems fate decided to handle it for you." Emma laughed, her initial surprise fading into warmth. "You really came to a children's art fair." He shrugged. "Corporate sponsorship, and maybe curiosity." His eyes flicked to Noah's drawing. "Your son's talented." Her expression softened. "He's my little artist. He told me last night he wants to draw robots that fix the world." Ethan chuckled. "Ambitious. I like him already." Noah came running over then, his small hands smudged with paint. "Mom, I won second place," he cried, holding up a ribbon. Then his gaze landed on Ethan. "Who's this?" Emma smiled. "A friend, sweetheart, Mr. Cole." Ethan knelt slightly to meet the boy's eyes. "Congratulations, Noah, you made something beautiful." Noah grinned proudly. "Mom helped me pick the colors." For the first time in a long while, Ethan felt something deep and unfamiliar, belonging. As the three of them stood together, laughter and light surrounding them, he realized this wasn't just coincidence. It was a second chance. A week after the charity fair, the city prepared to welcome the new year. Strings of golden lights hung from lampposts, snowflakes shimmered in the glow of shop windows, and laughter echoed through the crowded streets. For once, Ethan Cole wasn't working late in his office. Instead, he stood outside Emma's small apartment, holding 3 cups of hot cocoa and trying to remember the last time he'd felt nervous. When the door opened, Emma stood there, bundled in her old coat, her eyes wide. "Mr. Cole." "Ethan," he corrected gently, offering a cup. "I was wondering if you and Noah would join me. There's a Christmas lights festival downtown. Thought we could celebrate. No business, no pressure. Just lights." Emma hesitated, looking down at her worn boots, then at Noah, who peeked from behind her legs, eyes bright with curiosity. "Can we, Mom?" he asked. Her heart softened. She nodded. "All right, but only if I get to pay for the hot chocolate next time." Ethan grinned. "Deal." The festival was pure wonder. Glowing tunnels of lights, carolers singing in the square, children skating on the frozen pond. Noah darted from one display to another, laughing as he pointed out glowing reindeer and oversized candy canes. Emma watched him, her breath fogging the cold night air. "He's happy," she murmured. Ethan glanced at her, his voice soft. "He's got a reason to be. He has you." She smiled shyly, brushing a snowflake from her hair. "You sound like you know something about family." His gaze lingered on the lights reflecting in her eyes. "I don't, but I'd like to." They stood in silence for a while, watching the fireworks paint the sky in gold and crimson. Noah squealed in delight and ran ahead, waving a sparkler. Emma's gloved hand brushed against Ethan's. An accident, perhaps, but neither of them pulled away. "You waited that night," she said quietly, almost to herself. "Most people wouldn't have." "I wasn't waiting for a date," he admitted. "I think I was waiting for this. For you." Emma turned toward him, eyes glistening with tears she didn't quite let fall. The fireworks exploded above them, reflecting in her smile. Around them, the crowd cheered, but for Ethan and Emma, time slowed, a single heartbeat stretching between snowflakes and stars. A poor single mother, a lonely CEO, two souls who almost missed each other, until Christmas reminded them that sometimes, the best gifts arrive late, but exactly when they're meant to.